man, born of a woman, is short-lived and filled with trouble. He comes up like a blossom and then withers away. He flees like a shadow and disappears. So says the book of Job in his attempt to summarily allegorize the life and times of a typical human being. These expressions also typifies the life story of a man whose father died barely a decade after his birth, in a situation which demystifies the concept of providence in the affairs of mankind. A rare gem with exceptional ingenuity, which made him always stand out in a crowd. His life story is a proof of the psalmist's assertion that he had been a child and grown up to an elder, but he had never seen anyone righteous abandoned, nor his children begging for bread. Late Pa Etim Thomas Ntekup was born into the family of late Ntekup Udoikpokpan Abasita in Nongeta family. His mother was late Magi Ibok Oku Udokbok of Nongedok family, both in Ikorotangisin, Ibesikbo Asutan local government area. The available record and historical fact shows that Papa was born in 1920. He was the first child in the family of 8. He was a child of circumstance for the loss of his father barely a decade after his birth, and just 2 weeks before the abrupt departure of his father, he reluctantly approves the request of one Mr. Ekbe, a classroom teacher, of the full custody of the child due to distance from his village to school. Daddy was exceedingly brilliant to the admiration of his class teacher. On that fateful day, Daddy could not go to school because of the heavy downpour which soaked his school uniform the previous day. Coincidentally, the school inspectors visited the school on that particular day. His absence was conspicuous and created a noticeable vacuum, since there was no person to answer the expected questions during evaluation by the class teacher. Miffed by the disappointment of Etim's know why he stayed away from the school on such a special day. Having been satisfied with the reason for his absenteeism, and considering the distance from his home to school, the school teacher requested that the young Etim should be released to stay with him within the school premises. The deal was concluded. That was also the last time Daddy would have opportunity to discuss with his dad, for he died barely 2 weeks after the relocation. His prudence and delicacy also came to play when he had some hard times in the hand of his master. When his uncle and mother heard about it, they all arranged to go and pick him home. Despite the ill treatment, he refused to follow his relatives home, but rather resolved to complete his education before leaving the master. That simple discussion changed the whole narrative, and he eventually obtained his standard 6 and set the pace for his eventual emergence as an educationist. The fate also gave him a leverage over his siblings and contemporaries. As an educationist, he was exemplary, a model and genius who inculcated and nurtured great men of timber and caliber. Though time and space may not allow us to mention their names in this memoir, but the children have actually reaped from what he sowed, as evidenced by the observable legacies from his children.
Father was an integrity keeper. He relied on God, his creator, for everything. In all situations, he depends on God. And he was very humble. The humbleness on his part led people, he became approachable, that everyone could meet him, either for help, for advice. And if they heed to that advice, they all succeeded. I miss him very much. My dear father, if it is money to buy life, I don't think he would have died.
My father, Mr. Etim Thomas Akpan, known as Brother Etim, was a very good man. I cannot say perfect because there is no perfect man on earth. But God gave him the grace to save him. He saved him. He teaches his children how to go the ways of God. And that's why I'm a bit successful today, because what he taught me then played in my life as I live every day. He forgives easily. He advises when you need, and the kind of advice you give to you will affect your life positively. You will forever live to fear God, knowing that He is everything in your life. That was my father. I was lucky to be a daughter, a child of such a man.
I thank Jehovah so much for giving me such a man as a father, because he was so loving, so caring. Anytime he sees that you are going to go astray, he will call you and advise you, tell you to be staying for Jehovah, love Jehovah. So I thank Jehovah. I know he will be resurrected. He was truthful, always telling the truth, and loving Jehovah.
The virtue of my dad that really holds so dear to me. He was a man that I was so content with in everything he does. A retired army who came to console me. So that my dad taught him that up to now, he has never seen a teacher that has the kind of virtue and teaching techniques that my father had. He always hold on to Jehovah. He will always tell me that he will be resurrected. He always pray to Jehovah and encouraging me never to leave Jehovah for any reason whatsoever. So that is what I hold so dear. His prayerful kind of life.
Since I got married to Janet, I've been enjoying the company of my father-in-law. Every time I go there, what I see about him that is always smiling. I've never seen him in any mood apart from smiling. I don't know whether he has ever been angry in his life, because that's what I notice about him. So that aspect, I see him happy all the time. You know, if you smile, that means you are happy. He has been a very happy man, and I take that from him. And I've been trying all my best to be happy all the time, no matter the situation.
The greatest memory is that my great-grandfather was a very humble man. He was very humble, and the first thing that comes into my mind when he was alive, and even after his death, is his smile. He smiles every time. Even in his dark moments, his smile is contagious. So his smile is always encouraging. And he's a strong man. He's God-fearing. He is a peacemaker. He is a leader. So there are so many things I can talk concerning my great-grandfather.
My grandfather was a very good man. He was a great man. When I heard he was dead, I shedded tears, remembering the kind of man he was. He was a great man, always prayerful, always looking at the good deeds of others. He has never really dwelt on the bad things that people did around him or whatever. He's always encouraging us, praying for us, loving us. In fact, he did all the best he could for us.
During my pre-nursery school days, I took turns. Every of my holidays, I was always spending it in the village with my grandfather. Maybe every December period, all of us will assemble. He was a true one witness, and he was so dedicated and passionate. So one thing I learned from him was his dedication and commitment to the things of God.
As a being in God's image, Man's yearning for spirituality is inherent from birth, and our late father was not an exception. He inherited Christianity from his birth and joined his father to be a devoted member of African Church. But the death of his father at a tender age and confiscation of all his father's landed properties by local missioners, which worsened the already deplorable situation of his widowed mother and fatherless siblings, made him to be indifferent to Christian religion during his growing up years. But that did not waver his faith in God as inculcated by his late father and personal Bible study. He defied all insinuations and antics from fellow influential teachers to deviate from the way. He held onto his faith and believed that the one who does not enter into the sheepfold through the doorway, that one is a thief and a plunderer. In his continuous search for a better life and procreation, Papa found love in a damsel christened Benedict Etim, a Swana from Akpautong in Ibesikpo Asutan local government area. He solemnized the union and got married in 1958. The marriage was blessed with 6 children, but 5 are alive today to bury him. In an era where his contemporaries flourished with righteous riches, Daddy's prayer was always as quoted from Proverbs 30 verse 8, "Remove untruth and lies far from me. Give me neither poverty nor riches. Just let me consume my portion." He continually searched for the truth, and he finally found the truth as propagated by the Jehovah's Witnesses. He dedicated his life to Jehovah and symbolized his dedication through water immersion in 1963. He had since remained a zealous proclaimer of God's kingdom till he breathed his last on that fateful day of 28th October 2024. In his parting words, Daddy admonished his children not to deviate from Jehovah. He maintained that Jehovah is supreme, testified of Jehovah's goodness. He quoted the psalmist as recorded in Psalm 37 verse 25, and I quote, "I was once young and now I am old, but I have not seen anyone righteous abandoned, nor his family begging for bread," unquote. With these words, he insisted that we cling unto Jehovah and fear him, for his fear will bring riches and add no sorrow to it.
Jesus promised that the dead will be resurrected. And there's a portion of the Bible that says, "He will call, and the dead will answer." I believe my father is among those who will be called, and he will hear the call and come back to life.
I want to pray that let Jehovah, that he, every day of his life, he must mention that name, Jehovah, through Jesus Christ our Lord. May Jehovah remember him during the call for resurrection. I pray his name by grace shall be called upon, so that he will answer as he used to preach. Let it be according to his confession.
One day, he will be resurrected by Jehovah. He will be called and he will answer.
I'm eagerly waiting to see him being resurrected, and he'll definitely be resurrected.
I really know that he will be resurrected. When the time comes that Jehovah God will call him to come back to life, he will come back to life.
I know that one day, sure, we shall get to see to be reunited with my grandfather again.